The Piper PA-24 Comanche banked left, its wingtip lights flickering erratically against the Arizona night sky. Inside, 6 young people were laughing, phones out, capturing what they thought would be another adventure to share. Then the engine coughed, a sound that shouldn't be there, the kind of sound that makes experienced pilots go quiet and passengers stop mid-sentence. 70 seconds later, the Champions Golf Course at TPC Scottsdale erupted in flames. Metal twisted. Glass shattered. The fireball could be seen from miles away, lighting up the desert darkness like a flare. By the time emergency responders arrived, there was nothing left to save. 6 lives, extinguished in an instant. Among them was 23-year-old Mariah "Sunshine" Coogan, whose final Instagram story showed her smiling aboard that very plane just minutes before impact. Mariah wasn't supposed to die that night. None of them were. She'd grown up in Northern California with horses and wide-open spaces, the kind of childhood that shapes people who crave movement and newness. At some point in high school, she realized modeling could take her places that staying put never would. So she left Cardinal Newman High School in 2012, chasing a career that valued her looks and her ability to make people stop scrolling. Over 30,000 followers watched her travel, pose poolside, and eat brunch with her dog at the Montauk in Scottsdale. The last photo she ever posted showed exactly that, a casual moment, a meal, a pet, the kind of ordinary snapshot that becomes haunting when you know what comes after. April 9th, 2018, started like most days for Mariah. She was in Scottsdale for an electronic music festival, the kind of event where bass shakes your ribs and strangers become friends under strobe lights. The plan was simple: fly to Vegas afterward with 5 other young people in their 20s. James Pedroza, 28, was listed as the student pilot. Eric Valente, 26, held a certified flight instructor license with over 5,200 flight hours. Anand Patel, 26. Helena Lagos, 22. Iris Rodriguez Garcia, 23. They were friends, or friends of friends, connected through the tangled web of social circles that overlap in party cities and festival crowds. James had recently purchased the Piper PA-24, a 1970 model that he was proud of, judging by his Instagram bio, where he called himself an avid traveler, pilot, and business owner. He hosted at the Mirage nightclub in Vegas and had accumulated 12,000 followers who watched him live what looked like an enviable life. Eric, the experienced pilot, presumably agreed to accompany the flight. Whether as instructor, safety measure, or simply as a friend along for the ride, no one will ever know for certain. What is certain is this: they boarded that plane believing they'd land safely 70 minutes later. Runway 3 at Scottsdale Airport, 8:45 p.m. The Piper P-24 accelerated down the tarmac and lifted into the desert night. Inside, Mariah filmed. She panned across her fellow passengers, their faces visible in the dim cabin light, and uploaded it with the hashtag #VegasLet'sGo. None of them looked worried. Why would they? Flying is statistically safer than driving. People do it every day without incident. But this plane was already in trouble before it ever left the ground. The engine was compromised, unable to produce the power needed for a plane carrying more than it should. Air traffic control noticed something was wrong almost immediately. The wingtip lights weren't steady. They flickered and wavered. The plane was struggling to gain altitude, its movements jerky and uncertain. "Are you experiencing any difficulty?" the controller asked. We're good. We're just a training lesson," James replied. Those were among the last words spoken from that cockpit. 70 seconds after takeoff, the plane veered 30 degrees left of its intended flight path. It had traveled less than 3/4 of a mile. Then it dropped. Try to imagine what those final seconds felt like. When a plane begins to fall, the brain doesn't register it as death right away. There's confusion, then a stomach-dropping dread. Psychologists call it time dilation, the way seconds stretch as fear floods the body. Some scream, some freeze, some reach for others, needing to touch something alive. There's nothing to fight, nowhere to run. Just gravity and the impossible clarity that this is the end. The evidence suggests they knew. The plane didn't simply drop from the sky in an instant mechanical failure. It struggled. It fought for altitude and lost. That means there were seconds, maybe even a full minute, where everyone aboard understood they were going to crash. Long enough for terror to set in, long enough for final thoughts to form, though probably not long enough to process them fully. The Piper PA-24 slammed into the Champions golf course near the second hole green. The impact was catastrophic. Metal crumpled, fuel ignited. The explosion was immediate and total. Debbie Robinson lived near the golf course. She felt the ground shake, saw the smoke rising against the night sky. For the ground to shake and to feel it all the way up there, it was really unbelievable, she told reporters later. Emergency crews arrived to find wreckage still burning, the fire so intense that identification of remains would require forensic analysis. The preliminary report came quickly, but determining probable cause took longer. When the toxicology reports returned, they found cocaine and ecstasy in James Pedrosa's system. The media latched onto that detail immediately, as the media always does when drugs are involved. But the NTSB ultimately ruled it wasn't a factor in the crash. The substances were from prior use, not active impairment during the flight. What killed them wasn't intoxication. It was physics, overloaded aircraft, improper weight distribution, mechanical failure in the engine, a pilot with good intentions but insufficient experience for the specific conditions, an instructor who either didn't recognize the danger or recognized it too late. A perfect storm of small errors that compounded into a catastrophe. Mariah's parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the pilots and the plane's owner. They alleged reckless operation and negligence. The case remains unresolved, tangled in legal proceedings that won't bring their daughter back, but might provide some sense that someone is being held accountable. Her family described her as someone you meet once in a lifetime. Her Aunt Kelly, speaking from Northern California, said, "Mariah loved life and was living it to the absolute fullest." Principal Graham Rutherford remembered her as eager for adventure. Her Instagram followers, who had watched her collect experiences like postcards from beautiful places, were left with a final video that none of them understood was a goodbye. Life is unbearably random. Some people fight for every extra day, hooked to machines, praying for an end. Others, like Mariah, healthy and vibrant, vanish without warning. She wasn't supposed to die for decades. She had places to go, dreams she hadn't even imagined yet. But death doesn't care about timing or fairness. It doesn't wait for readiness. It arrives when it arrives. Indifferent, silent, final. 6 young people boarded a plane for a short flight to Vegas. They had plans for the night, maybe for the year. None of them mattered. Within 70 seconds, their futures were gone. Mariah's Instagram is still there. The comments on her last post are a mix of disbelief and devotion. Friends tagging her name, writing to someone who will never reply. It's become a digital memorial, frozen in time. The golf course has long been repaired, and the scorch marks faded. Scottsdale moved on, as cities always do. But for 6 families, April 9th, 2018, is the day everything stopped. The NTSB can list every failure. Lawyers can argue responsibility, but none of it changes the outcome. What remains is a brutal truth. Life is fragile beyond comprehension. A single decision, a single defect, a single moment can erase everything in less than a minute. Mariah's final video showed her smiling, excited, unaware. Maybe that's the most haunting part, how ordinary it all seemed, right up until it wasn't.